Alright, so I just wanted to add a few more details on the 13,000 years ago story. We'll go back to where this was. Now this is where I used to look around the world. I didn't pay much attention to the rest of the world. I don't even recall if there was even polar caps. I'm sure there obviously would have been. They would have been bigger than now because of the sea levels and everything. But obviously this was all different. All these areas were pretty much filled in, all these light blue areas and stuff. And there was stuff over the other side of the world. I never went into any of all that. I was focused on the central area of where all this happened. So I'd find this area here, this curvy area, and that would be my lead in. And it was because I would always come in to the straight bit from the ocean, and then I'd come in and it'd be like a round about where my mouse is, somewhere around there. Maybe a bit closer even. So around here somewhere. Whoop. So I just wanted to add a few details. So as I said, this area here, this gulf here wasn't there, and there was maybe just a little bit of a curve. It wasn't. See, this line here, I don't think it was that much. It might have actually been like that much or something, but it wasn't that big. But what I said, something I wanted to correct what I said. Is, as I recall, now this bit, I'm not sure if that was there, I said, but I said this definitely wasn't there, and I also said something about, except for maybe that line there or something. I just want to explain what happened. So I never actually went down here. The only time I'd be coming and going from this path, like this. Whoops, it's not kind of working very well. But I'd go in kind of more of an angle like that. I never, didn't really pay attention that much about other things. There's a couple of things I was interested in and wanted to have a look at, but I was too busy with the important messages and stuff. So this area here, there was some water in it, right? So, but it wasn't big and it wasn't wide like this. It was so thin that you coming and going from over here, I never noticed anything there. It just looked like it was all land. But some of the people from what would you call it, settlement, the dawn of civilization settlement, some of them went exploring, and it was, everyone else wasn't that interested in exploring. They just wanted to settle in a place. But some people liked to explore, and these tend to be like they had like a bit of a superiority complex about them too, because they were, they knew how to navigate everywhere, and they travelled the known world at the time. So they said they would come all the way down here, and I said that they just went into Africa and found some blacks and eventually brought them back. So just wanted to add some details to this. So there was just like a little bit of water, too small that you wouldn't be able to notice it from this height. But I was only going off what they said. They said there was a long strip of water there, and they couldn't get across it. So they went up and down the strip to see if they could find where it ends, and they just gave up. And this here they would have been able to travel through here, but they got to the strip and they went up and down the strip and couldn't get there, and then they came back in humiliation that they couldn't they kind of reached a dead end and they couldn't go any further. And they wanted to they decided to go again, maybe being ridiculed over they're going to go as far as they could and come back. And they were kind of ridiculed a bit for failing to do that, because they come to a dead end. So they eventually went back and tried again, and then that's when they were gone for a lot longer. And then they came back, and that's when they brought some blacks back, and they started interracial crossbreeding a bit, which is we would have been the creation of what you call Semites today, the Arabs and the Jews and stuff like that. Well, there's no such thing as a Jew. That's another story. But those who identify as them anyway. The brown people, the interracial crossbreeds from about 13,000 years ago. This is how they started. So the second time, they didn't tell me how they crossed it, but I asked them how they managed to get across the water then. Like I wasn't convinced that there was water. I didn't know they were telling the truth, because I could never see any water myself. But I never went down there, and I wasn't too sure before I went into space. I wasn't too sure if they were telling the truth. It's all hearsay at the time, at least. and then later when I actually went up, I couldn't see any of this either. So I didn't know if they were telling the truth. But anyway, they said that they got caught on this long strip of water. They couldn't manage to get across and decided to come back. They said that they found a way to cross, and they really are. Well, there's one man that I really mainly spoke to about that. There were some others, but they didn't really tell me much. It was mostly one man that was really speaking to me about it. He was really proud of that. Proud that they managed to get it across, but he wouldn't tell me how they got across. So it was like a secret or something, right? Some ego kind of thing going on. But anyway, they found a really tricky way to get across it somehow. I don't know if they swam across. They couldn't have swum across it. It would have been too big. Yeah, like they had to have made some kind of boats or something. I don't know, but they didn't tell me how. But they were really full of ego about it. How they figured out a way to get across the water. So they went into the water and found that there was land on the other side. Now, when they first went there, they were convinced that there was land on the other side, but they couldn't see it. And that's one of the reasons why they went back, because they wanted to see there was land on the other side. And you know, some said that there wasn't, others said there might be. A bit of a arguing on about it. So they went back to try it, and they found a way to cross it. And then that's when they went in there, found the blacks, and brought them back to where you call maybe around Iran, near the edge of Pakistan and stuff. It's like around here. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that there was some water here. It was like a long thin strip, so it must have went really high. You know, who knows? It might have actually went up to as far as here, but I don't know how. But it went really long, and they spent a long time going up and down it, trying to find where it ended. So there was some water there 13,000 years ago. I just want to add one more thing, because I didn't pay attention to everything else around the world. It's just like a passing thought kind of memories I didn't really pay attention to. I don't recall there being any ice, and there especially wasn't ice from the position I used to come into. Like I used to kind of see up into Europe and stuff, and I kind of went up this way a little bit, and a couple of times, and I never saw any ice. So this is 13,000 years ago. Now they say that the ice was Europe was covered in ice, and then the ice melted, and then the sea levels rose. Well, this is like around 13,000 years ago. There was no ice, and the sea levels still hadn't risen yet. So that ice must have been in the polar, like in the far north and the far south. That's where the ice must have compiled, not on the land as they said it, as they say it was. But at least 13,000 years ago, at least it wasn't frozen, mate. I mean, if it was all covered in ice, wouldn't these lakes be covered in ice? Wouldn't there be records of that? I'm pretty sure that they wouldn't. I don't know if there's any life in them now, but I'm pretty sure if you were to track the evolutions of whatever life is in these waters, you'd be able to see if they were ever frozen over during the Pleistocene Ice Age. If you'd be able to estimate maybe when they did unfreeze, because when all this happened around 13,000 years ago, these definitely weren't frozen, and I didn't see any ice on any of the land at all. None of that shit. It was all green. It was greener than far greener than it was today. I mean, this wasn't all desert either. It was all like grasslands, and then as you get up into Turkey and it goes all like thick foresty kind of greenery, and back into Africa it was as well. And as I recall, this was kind of, I said grasslandsy-ish. I never went there to see, but from what they said, it was pretty much around about the same as this kind of stuff. So it seems that this was kind of all grassland. This is pretty much about the same as it was around here. So the distribution of life's very different. I mean, I've said that all this mass extinction event happened 6,000 years ago, where this is all wiped out. All this, and possibly even all this, right up into here. Like this is not natural. This is the mass extermination that happened. That I said that happened about 6,000 years ago. And like, if you even zoom on a map like this, you can see a lot of really bizarre things in there. There's still some water in the desert and stuff, but there's no life there. It's all been sterilized, all wiped out. There's some interesting things I saw just a short time ago. When I was looking in here, I can't remember what it was, but there's a lot you can see. Like you can see this here. You can see these lines here. You can see that these continents are split apart. You can see you've got lines here where they've stretched apart, and you can see that. What is it? America as well. You can see America's got these, not these. I don't know what the fuck these things are, but you see these like this line here. That you can see that this used to be over here. In fact, this might have been where all this used to be, maybe. Anyway, that's. I just wanted to add those details on. It was mainly about this here. Was it the Red Sea? I think it is. Let's have a look. Yeah, the Red Sea. So there was some water in there, but like when you're high up, you wouldn't have seen it. But they said it was. They said it was of a substantial size that you know, they had to think of an ingenious way to go across it. So it wasn't that you could simply like swim across it. It was way too big. I don't know if anyone was able to swim, but regardless, it was a lot bigger than that from what they told me. And this is just going off what I was told 13,000 years ago in another language, and you know, long story. And if you're watching this video and you don't know my story, you have no idea what I'm talking about. So I just wanted to add that about that water. There was some water about it, but it was a lot thinner, and you couldn't even. It's too small to even see from a distance.